Hey guys, today we are going to talk about using exists in data flows in for Azure Data Factory. So what is so special about Azure Data Factory's exists transformation? Exists work just like an exist join between any two data sources, and thereby it can enable you to update the rows with only the matched criteria. You can compare based on one or more than one fields criteria, and thereby you can visualize what are all the records that got matched and which did not. You can speed up the operation by threading up multiple parallel running batches. So necessarily exist join is something like just like a normal exist join as we used to write in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. It works exactly like that, whereas it's not actually taking back, actually it's not returning any results, any records. It's just matching out, it's just finding out if the two conditions are matching or not. So you'd see there are a number of transformations as related to data flows. So we can find new branches, joinings, conditional splits, exists, unions, and lookups. Out of this, we are going to talk with exists only for today. So, what is the difference between joins? What to use when you are basically if you have a huge volume of record, and on based on some given conditions, I have close to 1,000 records of my employees, and my employee records already had they all of them had got loaded into my database, but somehow their email IDs didn't get uploaded. So I want to update my records based on certain conditions. Based on what? Based on my employee IDs came to me much later, my phone numbers came to me much later on another file, and my client is saying, boss, why don't you upload this and update the records of this, whatever, out of all the 1,000 records, whatever you find on this Excel, whatever matching records you find, you update them. So what I did was that I am going to use a exist join here. So why not join, why not lookup, or why not split? Because join brings the selected fields only and the data along with them. Exist is not like that. Exist is used to just check the condition, not to fetch the data. Here we are going to just check the condition. If the condition is matching here with the number of all the records of the customers, all the records of the employees, all the records of the vendors, if they're matching with the newly supplied set of my Excel, if the records are matching, only those records are going to be updated, rest are not. So join is not going to help us here. Lookup transformation, why not lookup transformation? Because lookup transformation references data from another source in a data flow stream. Lookup transformation appends column from matched data to your data source. It works a lot like left outer join. So this is not going to work either. Lastly, split transformation. Split transformation is something entirely a different objective altogether. Split transformation is something like, like I want to split up my data outcomes based on genders. All the males are going to be pushed out to one file, and all the females are going to be pushed out to another file. And they are going to be branched out on separate branches, and accordingly, we are going to do our exercises on these two separate branches. So split transformations are going to be the best tool for us on all such cases. Hence, if you are planning to update your records based on some matching condition, join might not be a good choice, as well as lookup and split might not be a good choice either. Go for the exists. This Okay, so let me connect to my Azure portal and let me show you what has been done. So I created a Azure SQL, and I installed some out of box, some sample databases. So I've created this database, and these are the sample data tables that got created along with it. And I have my customer table inside, and my customer table, I've created a column known as email, which is as of now just empty. And so what I did was that if I do a select statement out of that, so I'd find all my columns are empty. So, and in the meanwhile, what has happened already is like there are so many records already present, and My customer has separately sent out few email IDs which are having data, and they have purposely, they have repeatedly requested me to update these columns of this email IDs of this, of these customers. So if you take a look at the email IDs, so here is my email ID, and you'd see this email IDs look like a lot of this customer. These are the customer IDs, and these are the email IDs of them. So eventually, as you could see, like this is just an integer type of column, and these are all string type of column. And what I did was that I have created a container, and I have uploaded this email IDs list in it. What I've done in my Azure Data Factory, coming back to my Azure Data Factory, I've created an Azure Data Factory beforehand, and I've created a data flow inside. So inside my data flow, on the source one, I have created what as in my source one, I have connected it with just what I showed you, just that container container folder, which I just showed you over this. So how to see it? It's very simple. So if I click on open, and if I go to my inbound directory, and that is the file. So whatever file comes on it, it will be transferred. It will be transferred to the data flow, and it will be committed to my SQL Server database. So how am I doing this is basically inside my schema. I've imported the schemas. So if I import it from the sample file which I have imported this, I can import my schema once again, and I can see like, okay, so these are the columns that are present in it. And if I come back to my data flow, let the schema be populated in the meanwhile. And there is also a source 2, which is nothing but my SQL Server table, which I need to update this. So if I come back to my Excel and I see this number of columns equal to 2, and my connections are intact, are in place, and if I come back to my data flow, and I can see a join between them. So I have created an exists join from here, and so the exists join on the right hand side, and on the left hand side I've used my exists. So I can use don't doesn't exist or exist. So in our case it's going to be exist join. On the left hand side I'm using column 1 to map with customer ID. Customer ID is the name of the column, and column 1 is the name of our column for the customer IDs. But just because it's an integer type, so what I have to do is that I have to manually transform this to integer, so as to make two things equally and comparable. So I'm saying two integer column 1 is equal to customer ID, and whatever is the result of my exist is going to be fed to something else, which I'm going to tell you. But before that, just let you know what is exactly happening. I can optimize my data as auto fixed and off, depending on the condition and the situation, which is about the data volume and the performance. And I'm using a sync also, which is my nothing but my database table, which I'm going to update this. And in my table, what I have done is that in my sync settings, I have selected my Azure SQL. So Azure SQL is nothing but if I click on this open, and if I click on the schema, and so those schema is although on place, just I'm clicking on it so as to get it repopulated, and it is populating all the name of the columns along with the data types. And so if I click on the test connection, it's going to take a couple of moments, and it's going to say its connection is successful. And this is the name of the table that I'm going to use it. I can use the preview data to see what are the data inside it. So it is fetching all the columns from it. So I'm just closing this, and I'm coming back to my parameters. So no parameter has been added for this purpose. And if I come back to my data flow and come back to my sync settings, I can see that I have in my settings tab, I am selecting that auto allow update is equal to true. So which means, so if this condition is matched, what is this condition? If the condition was key columns, if the customer ID is found to be a matching customer ID, it is going to update this. So that is actually the condition. And mapping is what? Mapping is based on column 1 to map with customer ID, and column 2 is to match to set to email ID. If you say this, it is going to say that, hey, you cannot update this directly. You have to give some kind of an alter row. Alter row is, that's why I have kept an alter row in place. So alter row is what? Alter row is basically doing an update if the column is found, if the column matching condition is true, which means if a matching condition, if a matching column is found, it is going to update this. So when this is done, I am just publishing all, and I'm just publishing all of them. So, there is nothing to validate. That's why, because I've already kept it ready, handy. That's why the validate button is coming as false, as disabled. So once this is done, it is going to take a while to get it published. So this is published. What I will do is that now I'm going to go back to my pipeline. I've created a pipeline and I've dragged and dropped this data flow out here. So what I will do is that I will just trigger this pipeline at trigger and trigger now. When I'm going to do that, it's going to take a while to update all my records of the matching records. I've forgotten to mention one more thing. Like you can come to the sync one, and what I've purposely done is that I've optimized uh, it to as use current partitioning. Although you can select either single partition, or you can purposely set some partitioning as per your wish. And in the settings tab, I have given it as a number of batch size is equal to 50, which means there are going to be 50 parallel threads to speed up the process. So if I, at this point of time, if I come back to my monitor and I can see like this is in progress. So what I will do is that I will pause my recording for a while till the execution gets over, and I will come back and I will resume. Yeah, and just now I found like the execution got over and all the records successfully got updated. And if I come back to my Azure portal, I would see that it has successfully updated. The status has succeeded. So that's how you can use an exists transformation in your Azure Data Factory so as to update any given record set, and so as to make the transformation execution work very fast. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more. Namaste.